Did you play Airsoft a little too hard last weekend, and now whenever you go to use your MTW, everything's on the wrong side and you might need an Ambi? Or you just want to change it out? Liar! I'm Tyler. Let me show you how on this episode of What the Tech. When it comes to selectors, we have two different types. We have an Ambi that has a short arm on the right side, and then the standard that has only the arm on the left side. But the great thing about the MTW being the modular training weapon is that you can change it out. So as you can tell from this MTW9, it has the standard selector. We're going to swap it out for an Ambi, which whenever you want to swap from an Ambi to a standard, basically the same process. So we've already separated the upper and lower. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the board. You will have to remove both trigger pins. Now we have to remove the grip. To do this, you're going to need a 3/16 hex key. As you're removing this, watch for the spring and detent that help the selector stay in position. Before we go ahead and install this Ambi selector, let's talk about what comes in some of the packaging. Of course, we have the main selector with barrel, we have the short arm, and of course a screw to put the short arm on. But let's also take a look at the barrel. So you'll see a black section and a white section. This is for the optical sensor. When it senses the white section, it'll go into the first firing mode, which is usually set to semi. Then as it switches, it'll register the darker section and go into the second firing mode, which would be usually full auto. But if you have one of the older Spartan boards and it doesn't have an optical sensor, it doesn't matter. It'll still get used the same way. You'll see that we've got a track over here with divots that are meant for the detent. Now, we can go ahead and put the selector arm here, trying to make sure that it matches the same direction as the main arm. We're going to use a 2mm hex key and tighten it up. Okay, smooth function. Let's go ahead and put our trigger in. Now we can do the detent, the spring, and the grip. We have our detent and the hole that it goes into. Perfect. We're going to take our grip screw, kind of pre-install it. Take the spring that goes against the detent, and this is where it takes a little bit of work to get this lined up. So we've got to make sure that our detent stays in place, our spring stays in the grip, and that we don't cross thread our screw. There we go. Now you can see I've actually lined it up. We can put our selector in a more standard position, that way the detent will catch it, and then continue to install the grip. There we go. Let's check. Really nice. Now we can reinstall our board and put everything back together. And now to test it, here we go. Perfect. And that is how you change a selector on an MTW.